Good morning, Crossroads Church.
Good morning.
That's what I like to hear. Primarily it was Daniel, but I heard a few others. A few Sundays ago, I talked about the power of the invite. Well, this morning I want to talk about something that parallels itself with the invite. You see, I'm 39 years old, and as I look back on my life, there has been a lot of never forgets. You see, I'll never forget having my dad as my coach. I'll never forget seeing my dad give me one of these when I did something good on the field. I'll never forget hearing my mom say, "That's my boy," on the sideline. I'll never forget all the memories I've made with my brother and my friends growing up. I'll never forget joining the military and serving my country. I'll never forget holding Harlow and Meadow for the first time. I'll never forget seeing them smile for the first time. I'll never forget hearing them say "Daddy" for the first time. I'll never forget seeing my girls accomplish a goal for the first time. You see, I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never forget. Life is full of never forgets. Some are good and some are bad. But I bet if you just take a few minutes to think about it, you too have a lot of never forgets. But you know what never forgets are? They're experiences. But not just any experience. They are experiences in your life that stay with you forever. Well, when it comes to our Christian lives, there should be a bunch of never forgets too. I'll never forget kneeling in my bedroom as a young boy and asking Jesus to become Lord of my life. I'll never forget my youth group that I attended as a kid. I'll never forget Harlow praying at our dinner table and reigniting my relationship with God. I'll never forget Ronnie showing up to my fish fry and inviting me to Crossroads Church. I'll never forget my first time sitting in this church and Pastor Ronnie pulling out a love letter that Miss Carrie wrote him while he was overseas. And he talked about this love letter and how much it showed that she loved him. And then he turns around and talks about how God wrote us a love letter too, called the Bible. Now here's the thing, church. I've sat through a lot of sermons in this room, and I don't remember them all. So why is it that you think that I remember that sermon in particular? Well, first, because I was invited to hear it. But I never forgot what he said during that sermon. You see, it's because of the experience that I had during that sermon that I never forgot it. And you see, invites are so important because a lot of times it takes an invite to get you where you need to be at the exact moment you need to be there. But the experience that you may have when you get there, that's what you take home with you, and it becomes a never forget. Our time is limited. So you may wonder why we put so much into events at this church. You may wonder why we push so hard to invite people to church. So I'm going to tell you why. Because there's something else we should never forget. We should never forget how it felt to be lost and without hope. And we should never forget that Jesus was and still is the answer. You see, the Bible tells us, "Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring." What is your life? For you're a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. That's your life. And this world that we live in is lost and it needs hope. And the only opportunity we have to help a lost world that's without hope is to invite someone to have an experience that stays with them forever. An experience that'll last long after this world is gone. And it's my hope that Jesus becomes that experience to many. And it's my hope that Crossroads Church becomes that experience to many. And that experience turns into a never forget. And lastly, we must never forget, church, that someone invited us. And that your simple invitation may lead to someone giving their life to Christ, and that lasts for all eternity.